They operated in the deepest shadows of the American dream. For decades, they were a government within a government, enforcing their own laws, collecting their own taxes, and executing their own brutal form of justice. They are La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours. While organized crime existed in the margins long before the 20th century, it was the 18th Amendment that truly birthed the monster. Prohibition turned street thugs into CEOs. Alcohol was illegal, but America was thirsty. In that vacuum, Italian-American immigrants, often marginalized and barred from legitimate industries, found a pathway to immense wealth. But in those early days, it was chaos. Blood flowed in the streets as rival gangs fought over every city block. It wasn't a business yet, it was a war. The chaos ended in 1931, thanks to one man, Charles "Lucky" Luciano. Luciano was a visionary who realized that killing each other over turf was bad for the bottom line. He didn't want to be a warlord. He wanted to be a chairman of the board. He reorganized the Italian-American Mafia into a structured hierarchy modeled after the Roman legions and modern corporations. At the top was the boss, insulated from the streets. Below him, the underboss and the consigliere, the advisor. Then came the capos, and finally the soldiers. But his greatest invention was the commission. This was the supreme court of the underworld. It consisted of the heads of the most powerful families. They settled disputes, authorized executions, and divided territories. With the commission in place, the Mafia stopped being a gang and became a national syndicate. Nowhere was this power more concentrated than in New York City. The commission recognized 5 specific families who essentially carved up the Big Apple. First, the Gambino family. For years, they were the most powerful. Under the dapper Don John Gotti in the 80s, they became a media spectacle, flashing wealth and smiling for cameras, a move that violated the old code of silence. Then, the Genovese family, often called the Ivy League of the mob. They were smarter, quieter, and deadlier. Their boss, Vincent the Chin Gigante, famously wandered Greenwich Village in a bathrobe, feigning insanity to avoid prosecution. Rounding out the 5 were the Lucchese family, masters of labor unions and racketeering. The Bonanno family, who were often alienated for dealing narcotics early on. And the Colombo family, the youngest and most violent, prone to bloody civil wars. If a building went up in NYC or a garbage truck moved, one of these 5 families got a cut. But the Mafia wasn't just a New York story. In the Midwest, the Chicago outfit reigned supreme. Unlike the fractured 5 families, Chicago was one unified machine. Al Capone made it famous with violence, but his successors made it profitable with politics. And then, they found the ultimate gold mine, Las Vegas. The desert offered a fresh start. Both New York and Chicago families invested heavily in the casinos. They controlled the management, the loans, and most importantly, the Skim. Before the taxes were counted, bags of cash were walked right out the back door of the counting rooms. For a brief golden era, the mob didn't just rob the bank, they owned the bank. So, how did an empire that powerful fall apart? It took 2 things: a new law and a broken code. In 1970, Congress passed the RICO Act. This allowed prosecutors to charge bosses for crimes they ordered, not just ones they committed personally. Suddenly, the insulation was gone. Simultaneously, the Code of Omertà, silence, began to shatter. The FBI infiltrated the families, most notably with Agent Joe Pistone, known as Donnie Brasco. Paranoia spread like a virus. Facing life sentences under RICO, loyal soldiers began to rat on their bosses to save their own skins. This culminated in the commission trial of 1985, where federal prosecutor Rudy Giuliani indicted the heads of the 5 families simultaneously. In In one swoop, the board of directors of organized crime was dismantled. Today, the American Mafia is a shadow of its former self, decimated by federal prosecutions and assimilated into broader American culture. They no longer run the streets with impunity. The modern mob is quieter, smaller, and far less organized. Yet their legacy remains permanently imprinted on our history and pop culture. We are endlessly fascinated by them, perhaps because they represent the darkest, most violent version of the American dream. The willingness to do absolutely anything to get to the top. The families may be broken, but the stories never die.